think today for speakers, we'll have um, me, Nick, and we should have Uzman joining soon. He's been having some problems with, I guess there's some flooding happening in California today. So he's been having some technical issues, but we should have him in here sometime during the space. Yeah, so today, just to give some brief background before we start here in a few minutes, we're going to be going through kind of state of the ecosystem. So we are actually missing, we'll hopefully have Uzman later, but we are also missing Matt today, which is our Polygon guy. All right, looks like Uzman will be joining us soon. So yeah, we're also missing Matt. He's out sick today, so it'll be mostly just me and Nick, and then Uzman later, kind of chatting about some stuff, updates from the ecosystem. Pretty chill, loose topic today, but there will be some cool discussion, especially regarding some Chainstack stuff. So yeah, like Matt said, we'll get started here in a few minutes.
Yeah, hey, just a quick test here. Can you guys hear me? I'm seemingly either unable to turn my mic on or off, so it's either full-time on or full-time off.
We can hear you.
I can hear you. Yeah.
If you want to restart your
Nice.
app and join back in.
Yeah, I might do that just because. Yeah, give me a sec here. Thanks. And Candace, thanks for joining. You're number one here, so we appreciate it.
Actually, today is my first. So I've been trying to figure out a way to use my desktop on Spaces. And I was like, well, it'd be so much easier if I could use my microphone and I could like still be at my computer and I wouldn't have to like wrangle with my phone, because the Twitter Space app and actually using it is so annoying, and the sound quality on my desktop is so much better. So I figured it out finally. I'm using like an Android virtual machine right now, with my Twitter account, where I can use my microphone. I have my desktop and I can do Twitter Spaces on my PC. Make it so much easier. Today's my first day using it, and so far it's working pretty well. I'm using my full studio microphone. And I think it's sound playing through my headphones is way easier than desktop, or than mobile.
Alrighty, Nick, I see you're back in here with us. Any luck with your microphone there? Well, if you're talking this time, we can't hear you, unfortunately. Maybe restarting wasn't the best idea, but let us know if you end up getting that worked out. And everyone else that's joining in here, welcome, guys. We're going to take a couple minutes, let everyone funnel in here while the team gets prepared, and we'll get kicked off in just a moment or so.
The app for doing Twitter Spaces is miserable to use. I feel Nick's pain right now. It's on my Android. When I was doing it on my phone, I'd have to, most spaces I go up to speak, I'd have to turn on airplane mode, have to turn off my service, I have to like restart my phone, force stop the Twitter app. I had like this whole like 6-step process for getting Spaces to work and my microphone to work. It's just like, I wish they had native desktop space implementation and fixed the mobile app on Android, and even iPhone. iPhone has tons of bugs too, because it's such a cool feature, but it's just not developed enough. So all right, looks like Nick's a little bit back. We can improve him here. But yeah, so much potential that's lost on technical issues with Spaces.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how you did that. I'm going to contact you offline and see. Maybe we can put a thread together on that, actually, because that's something very useful. I think a lot of people could benefit from that. The Spaces things, they have a lot of kinks that they have to work out, but at the moment, it's been a great platform. I just love to see where the platform is going to head, in what direction, I should say. Nick, any luck on your speaker there? Or on your microphone, I should say. Oh, I hear some noise coming from you over there.
I'm not sure. It's looking like it's on full mute here. If you can hear me, I'll just keep going through this.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
If not, okay, wonderful. So it's funny to see what's actually happening. But no, I appreciate it. So technology issues, but yeah, thank you.
Well, let us know, Nick. We can go ahead and get kicked off whenever you'd like.
Totally. So this is community call. I think we're at number 10 now. So it's starting to build some momentum. It's thrilling to be on this consistent basis and starting to see the community get involved. And we've got some familiar faces jumping on board. So thank you so much for the returns. Obviously, we're doing a half decent job at it, and continue to try to improve as we go forward. So we've got a few things that we can talk about. It's FY 2023, a lot of planning happening. We're learning a lot from clients, what their plans are for the new year, where they're going, what they're building. We were just on another space a few minutes ago with another client of ours and partner just about this really cool concept around loyalty programs and task incentivization for projects and community builders. So it's just really cool to see the development that's happening in the space. We can call out a few of these as we start going through the conversation here, but I think for today, the main topics were to take a look at the state of the ecosystem. So, Ethan, I think you can kick off if you don't mind giving us a bit of an overview. A lot of happening on Solana and some of the other protocols that you manage. Did you have a few notes to maybe kick off on the state of the ecosystem there for us?
Yeah, I can run through a few main topics real quick. So first of all, with Solana, if you guys have been frequent on Twitter over the past few days, the most obvious topic is Bonk token, which is an interesting resurgence of dog tokens. I wasn't expecting that in 2023, but it's happening. So the Bonk token on Solana is the first, like, I guess technically meme token on Solana. And it's received a ton of traction over the past few days. The price soared. I think it was like 3,000% in 2 days. People received airdrops that are now worth $90,000. People are making life-changing money here with Bonk. And I actually remember I was doing some Discord stuff on Solana, and I was talking to people, and a few days before this popped off, before Bonk really hit the jackpot. I saw people signing up for the airdrop, and I was like, I won't do it. It seems like it's, I'm not going to go out of my way to sign up for this airdrop. It's probably not going to turn out to be anything. And then 2 days, the same airdrop is, now worth thousands of dollars. But it's just been really crazy to see the resurgence of price action like this, especially in the bear market, when, there gains like this really haven't been seen since 2021 and 2020, back in the Bitcoin bull run. So seeing 2023 open with 3,000% token gains has been really interesting to see, and it's not only been a big financial opportunity for a lot of people, but it's been a huge impact to the Solana ecosystem. So people from Polygon, people from Avalanche, people from Ethereum are gaining notice of this and saying, well, there's good price action on Solana, and whether that price action lasts, I think it's bringing a lot of needed attention to Solana. And I've been in a lot of Discords, and I've been seeing people say, wow, Solana is really fast. Solana has these great benefits. The NFT ecosystem on Solana is really cool. So whether the Bonk token itself lasts, I think that its impact on the Web3 ecosystem and bringing attention to Solana and the positive things that Solana brings to Web3 as a whole, I think has been really great. And hopefully after either the token falls or maybe it continues or whatever happens with it, I think the long-lasting impact on the Solana ecosystem and kind of bringing the rest of Web3 into that ecosystem is really good, at least for Solana and the builders of Solana. I do see that we have Uzma joined here. I'm not sure if he's up to speaker yet. But yeah, no, Bonk has been really interesting. I definitely recommend, if you haven't checked it out. I don't give any financial advice, of course, but I just recommend looking into it and seeing kind of the impact that it's having, because it really is an interesting case of a bull market activity in a bear market, which I think is rare to see. Yeah, it's been pretty interesting over the past few days. Uzman, what's up? How are you doing?
Yep.
See, yep, speaker. There he is.
What's up, guys? Sorry for hopping in. You're late. Just had to.
Yeah, Ethan, while we're waiting for Usman, I'll say I got clued into Bonk a few days ago and decided to degen out a little bit and get involved and get some through my Phantom wallet and then trade and swap it. And, it's always fun to play around with these new DeFi kind of protocols, working with Orca and these whirlpools. So it's always a good way to get more engaged. And again, not financial advice. I didn't get the big airdrop, the 90K that you're talking about, but 999% APY, right? I mean, it's outrageous.
Right.
We'll see how long it lasts, but that's totally right. For some reason, it seems to be this outpouring of this feeling of a bear market. I know, last few weeks we heard a lot about, Solana kind of hitting its bottom, picking back up. And I know that being your protocol, it's quite exciting for you and a lot of development happening there. But this is cool to see, right? The fact that even in this really harsh market, there's still opportunities. People are still focused. And what they're trying to do, if you read this statement, is they're trying to move away from this kind of FTX Alameda concept where, the liquidity is concentrated and they're trying to generate it across a lot of the different community members, which is a really cool way of doing things, almost kind of like this fair launch concept on steroids. So like I said, I'm interested. I've gotten involved a little bit playing around with it. And we'll see, maybe the 999% plus yields will halt pretty soon. But so far, I don't know where else you can find that kind of a yield in this kind of a market, right?
Yeah, those yields don't tend to last too long. But I think so. I actually yesterday I had a long meeting with the head of DevRel at Solana. We talked for about 45 minutes about the state of the ecosystem. And ultimately, I think that their number one, their developer retention is really good. Better than it's pretty equivalent to Ethereum, better than most of their protocols. And I think what they're really focusing on right now is engaging with developers and keeping them in 2023, encouraging them to build in 2023, so that in 2024, when there's more activity, they'll be ready to kind of go. And I've been saying this everywhere, but of course, I encourage building in this time. But we talked about it, and of course, Solana inherently, it has its flaws, but really, it's one of the fastest ecosystems, one of the cheapest ecosystems. It's one of the most scalable ecosystems out there. And it's really impressive what you can do on Solana. I mean, there are applications that exist in Solana that can't be built anywhere else in the Web3 ecosystem. And they can only be built on Solana because of what Solana enables as a platform. So, I think that they're really trying to lean into that, and their technology is really impressive. And I think as they continue to build it out, of course, Solana is a beta platform, but as they continue to build it out and kind of, fix some of the rough edges that it has, we'll see some really cool adoption of the platform, and hopefully some more applications being built on there and more developer retention and so on and so on. And that's their goal in 2023, is to really engage with developers and give people a reason to use and build in Solana.
Yeah, thanks, Ethan. I think we have a few speakers that have just joined up. I saw a hand from Candace and from Landslide here. My Twitter spaces is bugged a little bit, so please feel free to step in if you're called out to speak here.
Look, do you want? Sorry, go ahead, Candace.
Thanks.
Maybe I'm off. Okay,
Yeah,
maybe it wasn't anybody speaking. Okay, got it. No, and by all means,
Nick
anybody
can't hear
in the
us.
crowd that has a few.
We can hear you. I think that Nick's is just a little bit bugged there. But Candace, feel free to take the floor.
Yeah,
Welcome.
that happens a lot. Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, if Nick goes out and he comes back in, it'll probably reset his Twitter. That's so funny. Yeah, so Tabasco, I was just going to ask you if you could expand on what Solana's technology enables that other platforms don't, because I hadn't heard that before, and I was really interested to know maybe a specific example.
Yeah, I can give a specific example. So I've actually spoken to a platform called Viper. Viper is a DeFi derivative platform on Solana. And I asked them, because I've done research on this and I wanted to understand, why do people choose Solana over another blockchain? Because it's an interesting question, because of course Solana is an isolated ecosystem. It's not part of EVM, so it's not as accessible as some EVM platforms are. So you ask yourself the question, well, why does a builder want to go on here? So I asked them that, and they said, well, the speed, the TPS, the transaction fees, and so on of Solana allow them to build this derivative platform that if they wanted to build on Polygon or Ethereum, for example, it wouldn't be possible in the same capacity. And that's what they told me. Because I asked them, I was like, well, do you want to ever go multi-chain? Do you ever want to do something on Ethereum and expand your user base? And they said, well, we just can't. It's not possible for us to move our platform onto things that are not Solana because of the, looks like Nick's back. Just because of the, Solana has, if you look at its overall TPS, Solana has about a 3,000 to 5,000 TPS. Which is significantly faster. And even if you take out voting transactions, Solana has about a 300 to 400 TPS. For some comparison, Ethereum has between 10 and 20. So, Solana has a lot of just technical differences between, Ethereum and itself. that make it really attractive, especially to DeFi platforms that can use that TPS and that can use that speed and those low transaction fees to their advantage to create some really unique platforms. But it looks like, sorry, go ahead, Candace.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you had meant that it was something that was actually like in the blockchain or in the way that they, I know that they have proprietary ways that they do, like with Candy Machine, the smart contracts. I'm obviously not a dev. But you mean that they chose Solana because of the transactions per second and then transaction fees being low, which makes total sense to me because I'm like an Avalanche person and I chose Avalanche for the same reasons. So I think that Avalanche still seems to, like, when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, like, is there a technical reason that someone would go to Solana? I mean, over Avalanche. And not that I'm an Avalanche maxi. I mean, I appreciate all chains. I'm like very excited about what everyone's doing. But when you said that specifically, I thought maybe there was something in the smart contracts that devs were utilizing that couldn't be done somewhere else.
Yeah, to quote them specifically, Viper Protocol in specific, and I'm actually going to be having a space with them, hopefully on the Chainstack Twitter soon over the next few weeks, so we can maybe dive into that more there. But what they said is that a lot of DeFi applications which are successful on Solana today wouldn't be replicable on Ethereum due to lower TPS and other things in regard to that. So it really is just kind of those fundamental statistical differences between Solana and some other chains, the TPS, the transaction fees, the transaction finality that make these really advanced DeFi applications and platforms possible that might not be possible, at least in the same capacity on other platforms. So it's really interesting to see it. And hopefully when we have our space with them, we can talk more about specifically why they chose Solana over other platforms. And I think that's an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, I'd be really interested in going to that. When you find out when it is, would you mind just shooting me a DM? I'd love to, be in the listener section for that.
Sure. Yeah. As soon as I get that scheduled and we get that out, I will send you a DM with the invite for that.
Awesome. And I just wanted to tell you, it is so freaking cool that you're using Twitter Spaces on your desktop. When you said that, I was like, heck yes. I also struggle. The struggle is real. I have been like host to co-host, and I've accidentally banned people from the room that I didn't mean to, just because my phone froze up. Yeah, good times.
Yeah, the app is not reliable, and I was trying to find a solution for that because my app never works, and I was like, well, I have to do Twitter Spaces. So I'm running a virtual machine on my computer, and maybe we'll do a thread of how to do it. But it's great because I have my headphones on and my microphone and my entire desktop, and I can do it all here. And then look stuff up, and it's just that's how I read my DMs with him. I just have the other window open, so no, it's super convenient. Maybe we'll put something out on how to do it.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Like sometimes when you're up here, like someone wants to ask a question, so they'll DM you, but like, hey, can you ask this? I can't look at my DMs. My phone will literally like crumble to dust if I try to close out the Twitter space and check my DMs. Yep, it's real. Yeah, if you could do that thread, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Nick, I don't know, real quick before we get some more speaker input, is your mic working now?
Yeah, I think I'm back. If you can give me a thumbs up, it looks solid.
Yeah, perfect. And I see this one is up at co-host now.
Hey, what's up? Can you guys hear me as well?
Yep. I think we're all set to go now. So the other two speakers that we've had up here are, I believe it's cutting out for me, Landslide Network on AVAX and Danny Milo. I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name. But Danny, you have your hand up. What's up, man?
Hey, yeah, Mello. Yeah, so are you using BlueStacks for your desktop kind of for your Twitter space kind of interactions using your desktop?
I am. Yeah, I'm using BlueStacks on my desktop.
Yeah, best way to go.
It's dope. Yeah, it was kind of a hassle to get set up. Like I had to it's kind of annoying, especially if you're not used to messing with your computer settings. But I got to work yesterday, and it seems to be doing good on this first run. So
yeah, it's not compatible for Windows 10. It's I think Windows 8 and down or Millennium Edition. I can't remember, but yeah. Just very quick question. You guys were in a space beforehand and was talking about wallets. Is there any opinion about 1-inch wallet?
We work with 1-inch a little bit. Maybe Nick, you have. I'm not sure if you've been working with them recently, but maybe Nick, you have an outlook on that.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. That's a good point. So just pulling up their wallet here, and obviously there's hundreds and thousands of wallets in the space, but When you say about an opinion, is it more in terms of the usability, the functionality, security? What's your angle or your take here?
I do see that you have slightly more freedoms to the point. A non-custodial DeFi crypto wallet. It seems pretty interesting. So I think it's somewhat gives you more leeway compared to some other wallets. And well, obviously cold wallets for any massive let's say asset that you have would probably be the most important thing that you can do. But this cold wallet seems pretty interesting overall. And also, like I see that it uses certain like Ethereum, BNB Chain, Polygon, but I don't see like others like Solana and others. But I'm sure in the future they'll probably have. Oh wait, yeah, I'm not sure in the future if they will.
Yeah, we see obviously a future of multi-chain for a lot of these platforms. I think there's probably a few more coins there, but just looking through the platform, some of the cool things is, we've been told for a long time that the mobile phone has these security enclaves that are very high security, and they're sort of, we trust them with Apple Pay and Face ID and biometrics. So, making use of these security features that are built into the hardware devices that we use today is interesting. You've got these companies like Treasure, like Ledger, that are offering these kind of third-party hardware wallets. I think that's great. It's neat. It's good to have. But if you can have a bit more of a better user experience with something that somebody uses day to day in their hands, I barely carry a wallet anymore. I'm using everything on my mobile phone. Same thing. So I like that idea. And I do believe strongly that the iOS devices, at least in some of the Android devices, have very strong security built into the phones. It's just whether we can work very closely with them. And it looks like these folks here have made a bit of a transition there. The other thing is like a secure backup to Apple iCloud. So again, how do you help onboard other users, millions, billions in the world? To me, it's using tools that we're natively used to. So iCloud is a big deal. I'm an Apple person. That's where my kind of life exists. And so having a nice secure backup there when I change my phone or I lose my phone, that fear is a little bit less important. Same thing, you think about this in terms of like will and estate and partner management, right? If something happens to me, can my wife get access to my crypto? Can she understand how to use this stuff? So I think there's a whole component there. Some of the other really cool things, Danny, that I'm seeing on the wallet is flash transactions. So that's with a partnership, I imagine, with a company called Flashbots in the MEV space. And so it looks like you can actually enable flash transactions through the wallet. So that's something I'll have to play with a bit more. But in that case, it gives you this ability to have faster transaction propagation, maybe beat the bots, get ahead of some of the front running and back running that's happening in the space. So I appreciate the call out. We do work with 1inch as a partner. As the wallet person, that's definitely an angle that I'm going to take with them and get a bit more involved and understand a bit more about the technology. But that's a great call out. Thanks, Danny. Looks very nice.
Oh, I didn't even know that you were in 1inch, but it I don't know why, but it completely attracted me because it was kind of slightly different compared to others. And so I just wanted more information. So perfect. If there's any other questions, I'll just bother you. Thank you.
Yeah, let's keep in touch. I'll make it a point to get in touch with them and just get a download on what their wallet's doing. I mean, and which chains they support, that kind of stuff. So thanks. I think it looks like Hanks has got his hand up. Please go ahead.
Oh, actually, Hanks has that hand in his PFP just to troll people. He's awesome, actually. Hey, Hanks, how's it going?
Yo,
That's
Hanks.
brilliant. Okay, I got it. Caught me off guard.
Would you would you like me to present a bear case to the market and to bonks and to Solana? I don't have to if it's not.
No, you know what, Landslide, I love your take on it. I mean, you're going to break my heart here and a few of the other DGens in play, but please go ahead.
The AVAX Max is coming out.
Look, the reason we haven't seen returns like this is because they're fake returns. Number one, right? Like we can't sustain an economy on meme coins. So that's number one. I as much as I like it and I'd be glad to be a part of it, it's like, if people were lucky to get the airdrop, I urge them to get out. Like it's not sustainable. Take a look at Anchor, take a look at Terra. It is not a good sign. So that's but I'll sort of leave that there. And the issue with Solana that you'll see if you kind of it's interesting, like new people who are coming into the space, they actually talk to me about how easy of a UI it is, and how simple it is to navigate and clean. And that's totally cool, and that's correct. The issue is that if you look on the Solana block explorers, it says that there's a super minority of 30 nodes that secures Solana, which means, literally, I'm reading from the solanabeach.io. It says this number represents the smallest number of validators that together control more than 33% of the total stake. These entities could theoretically censor and halt the network if they've colluded. So Solana's also gone down a bunch of times, and it's not the TPS is not entirely apples to oranges, right? So when you say it's 5,000 TPS, those aren't exactly all the same TPS. Some of them are messages, some of them are looped in with sending money. So that's the case against Solana and the bear case against bonks.
I think that's a fair perspective, Landslide. And I know we've spoken, you and I, in the past, and you're doing a lot of things with the Cosmos ecosystem and subnets. So trust that we're also big fans of Avalanche, and that's something that's going to be quite interesting. I agree. Some people are attracted to the shiny objects, sometimes myself included. But I hear you. It's kind of have a pretty quick exit strategy, get close to that withdrawal button, if from your perspective, right?
Yes, sir.
No, that's fair. Appreciate it. I think Usman or Candice, if you've got your hands up, please go ahead.
Oh, Usman was first.
Yeah, thanks, Candice. I was just gonna follow up on Landslide's point. I can't speak too much on the overall Solana ecosystem besides the fact that I know that there's some great developers over there who build some really complex applications in Rust. But other than that, I haven't been too attached to the ecosystem. But what I can say about the whole bonk situation is that what we've seen, at least periodically in this space for the past 2 years, it could go probably even back, but and when anything offers high APY, there has to be a reason behind it, especially with things like I don't know if any of you guys were Olympus DAO maxis, but that was definitely one of my first calls to card in this industry with Olympus DAO, seeing things like
Bingo.
Time Wonder, right? Exactly. And so when things attract you with high APY, they're so attractive and so, insane to think that, hey, this could actually potentially yield me, I don't know, 69,000 APY on my $100, and that could be turning into $10,000 in the next couple of months or XYZ, whatever the case is. And so what we've realized though is that those platforms usually aren't asset backed. They usually don't have collateral. Usually, they're, for the ones that aren't strong, we've seen them get hacked as well. So it tends to be this, uh, Trojan horse, I like to say, that attracts a lot of people, but really ends up, knifing them at the end of the day. So what I've really attached to myself in the DeFi space now, and I've seen this with some of the projects that Nick works with, is that some of these projects are definitely much more cautious of what APYs they offer now, and usually they're much better backed versus using collateral and things like that. So I think that now, especially with things that happen with FTX, we're starting to get into this space where now people are really trying to prove reserves, prove liabilities, and kind of justify why they're offering that APY and how. So I think that for all of us, just as besides the degens in here, who I'm sure are gonna do what they got to do anyway, it's a good indication when something offers thousands of APY that it's probably not legit.
No, I appreciate the perspective, Usman, and it's like as they say, right? If you can't lose the money 3 times, don't spend it. But I hear you. Sometimes you just gotta kind of think about what's your personal situation, and what you're willing to risk. And it's a bit like gambling, I guess. It's an adult version of gambling, right? So no, I get it, and thanks for the perspective there. Candice, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to, echo what these two gentlemen, Landslide and Usman, just said, um, on 2 points. The first is like, so I recently, like 2 days ago, we had a guest on our show that that got the bonk airdrop because he was an artist on Solana, and actually I thought that was really awesome that they had, that people were supported that way that are artists. So I think that there needs to be a distinction. Now, obviously, I love Avalanche. Like, I'm, I've been in the Avalanche ecosystem for over a year and personally have worked to onboard people to Avalanche. But I respect these other ecosystems, and I always want to, challenge myself to learn as much as I can. And speaking to some Solana maxis recently, I asked them, why did you get into Solana? And their reasons for getting into Solana were the same exact reasons I got into Avalanche. Exactly. I mean, I felt like it was an alternate universe and I was talking to myself through a mirror. Transaction fees being low, and transaction speeds, and community. And so I really think that in addition to the tech, we're looking at the cultures that are independently developing on these chains, like how we think of Tezos as being the art chain. Again, that same person that I was talking to 2 days ago said that they think of Avalanche as the academic chain, and I laughed. I'm like, I don't see us that way as just like purely academic at all. I mean, so it's just funny. I think that each of these chains are now like still trying to form their identities, and still forming their identities with the people that are there. So yeah, I mean, I agree with what Landshark said. Like, I had Solana and I moved to Avalanche. It worried me about the downtime, of course. Like, I thought, oh my gosh, like, how would I feel if I accumulated a lot of assets and then the whole chain went down? But I realized at the same time, and I have to defend them, that they're still in beta, and they've done all of this incredible stuff still in beta. So that has to be a carrot in their favor.
Right, but the counter to that is they're not saying that they're in beta in the entire ecosystem. People are putting tons of money in and losing a lot of money in at the same time. So it's kind of hard to play both sides of the field on that.
Also a good point. I think that, I mean, it's difficult, right? Because they are still young and still developing. So, but at the same time, you're right, because they have grown the way they have grown, a lot of people have money in, and then there's risk associated with that. Oh, sorry, the last point, the bonk. For me personally, if I see a coin trending on Twitter, I feel like it's too late. That I have missed that it had its initial pump. Now, this is not financial advice. This is just me personally, how I feel about it. Like, when I saw Bonk and I saw the memes coming out about it, I'm like, trending on Twitter, memes, it's too late. That's just how I feel. But it's also a game, right? I mean, it's fun if someone wants to degen into something, and I agree with what Nick said, can lose it 3 times over and like not break a sweat and be totally cool, then whatever. It's your life. Like, have fun however you see fit. But for me personally, those were 2 flags: seeing seeing memes everywhere about Bonk, and also it trending. I was like, nope, missed the boat.
That's an awesome take, Candace. And I mean, sorry guys, I know you've got the hands up, but I can echo that, right? I spent a lot of time on some spaces, and Candace, we see you out there and representing as well, which is awesome. But there's one that I sit in. It's called Web3 Exposed. I'm sure a lot of people are on there. The guy's name is Bark, I think, Dow. But it's just interesting. They try to go through and call out projects and founders and really try to do some diligence and research. And this whole concept of like do your own research it's strong. It makes a ton of sense, but it's not easy. And I've noticed that more and more, like even myself, just Googling things on the internet, on YouTube, whatever that is, there are so many takes and opinions. It's so hard to figure out who to trust and who to look for. So, Candace, I guess from you, it was more of a gut feeling. You were like, look, in the past, I've been rugged or burnt. So to me, if I see it in Twitter, it's memeing, or if Jim Cramer's talking about it on Squawk Box, it's a don't touch, right? Is that how you go about it?
Oh, you know what? I think that it's probably like a little bit more nuanced than that for me personally. But I guess, yes, I mean, of course I've been rugged. I mean, I think anybody who's been here for like over a year has definitely been rugged. So I mean, but I'm just generally a cautious person in general. And most of the reason that I'm in Web3 is not to trade. I mean, of course I have, but most of the reason that I'm here is to build a culture and a community, and to, like, one of my personal missions is to elevate art in this in this space. and to see like the ways in which Web3 can change the world. Like I'm really interested in writing a book about currently NFT projects that have done incredible things with charities in real life to like literally change the world with Web3, like make people's lives better. So these are the things that I'm mostly concerned with. I'm also just very interested in the tech and getting my head around it, and so I can understand the implications of what that means for 5, 10 years from now. But the trading, it's fun, but I'm like definitely not an expert.
Yeah, totally. Thanks. I mean, Eric, I think, or Tabasco, please take it off. We've got a few hands up.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly pop in and address landslide and a few of the other Solana points, of which I totally agree with everything about Bonk and a lot of the concerns about Solana. I think that in terms of meme coins are never a good thing to base an ecosystem off of and base faith in an ecosystem off of. But like I said, I don't see Bonk as impactful and it's going to be a long-standing coin. I do agree with you guys. I think it's probably going to fall in price pretty quickly. The returns on it are going to fall very quickly. Stuff like that isn't sustainable. Like people getting $90,000 for free isn't typically a sustainable business model. But I do think, like I said earlier, Bonk as a coin, in my standpoint, is not as much as an impact in terms of financial freedom for people, but I think it's more of an impact on bringing attention to the Solana ecosystem. And like I said, I've seen a lot of people that have never used the Solana ecosystem, and now that Bonk is kind of popping off in there and becoming really popular, they're going to Solana and they're using it, and they're realizing that this is a good ecosystem in terms of a technical point of view. And they're being they're pretty surprised. They're saying, "Oh wow, these transactions are really fast. These are really cheap. This is a pretty seamless experience." Like I said, the UI is really nice, and so on and so on. So I think Bonk is more important past price and past providing people with money and investment returns. I think it's important in that it's bringing attention to Solana from getting people to use it that might have not used it before. And then on the TPS point, really fast actually. Solana's TPS, when you look at the raw numbers, are incredibly inflated. So when you look at 5,000 TPS, the chain doesn't actually have 5,000 TPS. That includes voting transactions. So a large portion of Solana's transactions are voting transactions. And these transactions inflate the TPS numbers. Now, when you remove these transactions, look at it's called the true TPS of Solana. It usually stacks up at about 300 transactions per second. These are real transactions with voting excluded. If anybody is interested in learning more about TPS and how they measure that and how chains stack up, I recommend going to realtps.net. This website's fantastic for showing true TPS numbers with voting transactions and non-important transactions excluded. So you see Solana on this website at about 300 TPS. It fluctuates from 200 to 400 around that. Stellar is at 120, Polygon's at 34, Ethereum's at 10, and so on. So there's a lot of interesting things to be said about TPS, but in terms of Solana, it definitely isn't at 5,000. It's usually more in the few hundreds.
Yeah, thanks, Ethan. That's amazing. I'll post that link in the tweet in the Twitter here. So realtps.net. I see what you're saying. So it's at 307.43 on Solana. That's neat. Thanks. We'll share that. I think we had maybe Usman or Eric next in line. I guess Eric, do you want to give us a few thoughts?
Well, yeah. So I mean, as the resident degen here, every cycle for all the different chains, there's always a bluebird. For example, last cycle with Croj on the Kronos chain was another pure meme coin that hit over 50 million market cap. And again, it's now I think probably worth like 2 million market cap. It's another one of those type of tokens or meme coins that do pump quite considerably. A lot of people do make a lot of money out of it. And the only thing is you have to get in early. What Candace said about it trending on Twitter too late, that's probably 70% of the time correct. A lot of times when it does maintain the hype because of all the trending and all the people making memes of it, there's always the opportunity, there's always the chance that it does produce another pump after all of the trending and all of the memes. So there is the opportunity there. But in terms of sustainability, in terms of long-term investment, in terms of even just being a safe investment, it's extremely risky when it comes to meme coins because most of them, 99.9% of them, don't really have any sort of utility. Now, with the whole bonk thing, I think it did kind of bring a little bit more life and breathe more life into Solana after all of the announcements from the DGods and Utes team basically saying that they were leaving Solana. I think that hurt the ecosystem a bit. Even myself, owning a lot of NFTs on the Solana space, I saw a lot of basically the prices fluctuating quite considerably. Now, the thing with these meme coins that are like positive and beneficial to the ecosystems is that it does bring a lot of it brings a lot of liquidity to the ecosystem shortly after these sort of meme coins do explode. So if you see right now, there's probably about 15 to 25 different forks of Bonk or copies um, on the Solana system. That happens with all the other meme coins that are successful. If something happens on Ethereum, something happens on Kronos, there's always going to be these multiple copies of that. And in turn, that does bring a lot of liquidity to the ecosystem, though it might be temporary, but it does help in a short term stance. But again, it's not financial advice. It's not something to really risk your investment in because the risk factor on these are extremely high. So I think that's just really what I wanted to contribute to this is that there are some positives to these type of like Bluebird, 100x, 10x, 50x type of meme coins, but in the long run, it's not really super beneficial.
I appreciate the take, Eric, and I know you and I have had conversations about what actually happens behind the scenes, and a lot of regular investors getting rugged, right? And it's something that happens in the industry, and it's something that needs to be shaken out. But appreciate the take. That's neat. I think we'll go
Yeah,
to.
no, sorry, just one more thing. Unfortunately, it just is like you just don't want to be the exit liquidity of the people that were in these projects early. And being early, I know some people in this space. I've seen just off Bonk alone, they've made over six figures on just this one meme token. So the money's out there. I've seen the screenshots. I've seen their transactions. I know what they're making and what has the potential of basically life-changing money, but that is for the very small, very few at the top of the pyramid. Everybody else really just ends up being like exit liquidity if you're not early enough. So again, it's not an investment, it's a risk, it's a gamble.
That's a great way of putting it. Thanks, Eric. Usman, I'm not sure if you had your hand up. If not, please. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think I'll let Candace respond to that though, because I think you guys were heavily deep in that bonk conversation. I think I have a interesting point to piggyback off another point that Candace had made earlier, but I'll let her go first.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to say to Eric, I'm so glad that you brought up the point of utility. And I guess, thinking about when a meme coin crosses over from being a meme coin to like something that is actually usable, that has legs. So to your earlier point, Nick, like, I mean, it is very nuanced. This is definitely not trading advice, but for me personally, when I'm looking at a coin, it was definitely, seeing the trending was a flag to me. But if it was a coin that was done by a team that I knew had a brilliant track record of building, or if it was something that I felt may have a utility in the future, then that might change my mind about it. But when I see things like influencers pumping generational wealth, like, oh, generational wealth, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, are you being serious to me right now? It's generational wealth for the influencer, not for all the other people. I can't echo what Eric said enough. I mean, it's very easy to become exit liquidity, and people should be careful.
Yeah, that's a fair take. If you're not on the outside, you're not, and that's loud and clear in the crypto space, right? And this concept of exit liquidity for the founders and for the initial groups. I love what you're saying there, Candice. Right? It's just a lot of times is you've got to have a bit of history. You've got to have been burnt before to try to follow the right type of project. utility is fleeting. I mean, it's still tough. You look at, when Elon took over Twitter, Dogecoin was going to pump because he was going to use Dogecoin to pay for Twitter Blue. That kind of fell on its head. At least I haven't heard much from it in a while. So I totally get you. It's just, I think these are the types of spaces, and building these communities, listening in, learning from others. This is how we get people educated. And I think we're all sort of responsible as chaperones for the industry if we want to continue progressing, is to try to help educate people in terms of protecting them from some of the failures that are there. So maybe pivoting to Usman, you had another point?
Yeah, 100%. I guess the main thing I'll say in response to all this is that, when it comes to shit coins and meme coins and degen projects, I think they'll always be there throughout Web3, no matter what ecosystem we're part of, whether that's, Solana or Avalanche or Ethereum, whatever the case is. But one thing that we've definitely seen a huge theme be throughout this entire bear market, at least in the past couple of months from what I've seen, is developers and just individuals in general starting to really care about the tech. I think before there was a lot of different emphasis on community, which there still definitely is. But now folks are more and more starting to be careful what chains they associate themselves to, based upon the technology that those chains associate with themselves. So I think that for a lot of people, like I know Candice Landslide, who was just in here, we like to associate ourselves with Avalanche for the most part, just because we've seen the most technological innovation, at least from my perspective, in that chain or in chains that are doing their own ways. Like I know we have Arbitrum in this space right now as well, Tech Recruiter, who's doing a great job in the space as well. I mean, Arbitrum has been killing it, right? When we want to talk about layer twos and individuals who are really pushing the Ethereum ecosystem forward, it's been Arbitrum, it's been Polygon, but I think a lot of individuals who are now really, again, focusing on the tech are really looking at Arbitrum as that key layer two solution that can handle what, the transaction capability that Ethereum really needs. And, going back to Avalanche, from what I've seen with all the new developments made recently, Avalanche Warp Messaging, Elastic Subnets, things of that nature that are really creating this interoperable system for developers to build whatever they want to build. Avalanche's narrative has changed as well, right? Where it's not just a alt layer one anymore. Avalanche itself is just a consensus layer and the fastest one in the industry at that, right? With the fastest finality. What it provides on top of that is it allows you to power a chain of chains that are all interconnected with custom VMs, right? VM agnostic, which is something that's going to be very key going forward. And providing infinitely scalable validators. So all those things paired together, I don't think any chain technologically gives that to you, and which is why developers are starting to flock to that ecosystem, and then other technical leading ecosystems like Arbitrum, like Polygon, that are starting to really pioneer tech as their main call to card versus, I don't know, community, so to speak.
Yeah, Nusman, I mean, you've been amazing and such an inspiration to the groups here in terms of your work with Avalanche and the Arbitrum community. A few things I know you had put together your own custom ZK VM. I think it was a week and a half ago. So just going to show you what people, even within this spaces itself, are able to build on Avalanche. And I think if you could spend a few seconds talking about this concept of interoperability. To me, the trend of 2022 was all these segregated chains. This concept of cross-chain messaging was coming up, but now, Avalanche specifically has made a change in that path with this kind of cross-chain communication. We know Layer Zero is doing a lot of that themselves as well. So, can you spend a few seconds on interoperability and what that means for you and what you see coming down the pipe for the next few months?
100%. Yeah, Nick. I honestly, I wish that Landslide Network was still here to when we were discussing this topic because they're a great example of what this in the space right now. Essentially, when it comes to interoperability, what we mean is that with Avalanche specifically, what I meant when I said chain of chains is that with this insanely fast consensus layer, individuals can now really build whatever it is they want on top of that consensus layer. So, and when I say anything, it really means anything. So, individuals, yeah, want to build any sort of virtual machine, whether that's EVM based. I'm a huge fan of Move Virtual Machine. I've been really looking into Sui and Aptos, but the community just isn't there. The tech really isn't there, besides those virtual machines and those languages. So now as a developer from that perspective, you can build a Move virtual machine using the Move language, powered by Avalanche's fast finality, and then still be able to communicate with the C chain, still be able to communicate with platforms like Landside Network, still be able to move assets across different bridges, without having to actually worry about bridges due to the fact that they just released warp messaging. So warp messaging essentially enables communication between these subchains seamlessly and easily. So now individuals on these subnets can actually transfer assets between them. They can send arbitrary messages between them. And so that's really what's going to be a key mover for this space going forward. I think that Cosmos has that first movers advantage with IBC, and they've seen a lot of traction because of it. And so, but a lot of technical requirements are lacking just from a developer's perspective. A lot of devs have been asking for more from the IBC team, asking for more improvements on the tech. But the cool thing is with Avalanche, you get, again, lightning fast consensus plus VM agnosticity. And now you can actually use similar IBC-esque communication within those subnets. So Landslide Network is a great example of that. They're actually trying to bring Cosmos SDK onto Avalanche, building in their own subnet using Cosmos SDKs, and really trying to push that ecosystem forward on Avalanche. So I think we're going to start to see a lot of different things like that going forward. I would really like to see a Solana subnet. Tabasco, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but they just did release the Rust SDK, which would allow for developers to build in Rust the same way they were building on Avalanche on Solana earlier. And so imagine a Solana subnet that has finality, Avalanche finality, and then Solana TPS. Like that would be pretty exciting to see, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's a lot happening in terms of interoperability between Solana and Avalanche. Like you said, they just released that SDK. There's a lot of cool stuff. Avalanche has some really amazing use cases, and so does Solana. So, like you said, being able to merge those two and having potentially one platform where you can realize both use cases could be really cool. So, no, I'm excited to see what comes out of further interoperability between Avalanche and Solana. I think they're both fantastic ecosystems with a really great developer base.
Yeah, and I'd say to add from the technology perspective, I mean, we all talked about this a few times, but Chainstack is very much invested in this concept of app chains. We feel strongly that this is going to be a way for, like we're talking about this interoperability, blockchain customization, permissionless networks. So we're very excited and keep an eye on our developments for Avalanche subnets, Polygon supernets and Edge. Starkware is going to have ZKX apps coming soon, and then Binance, the BNB app chains or side chains. So there's lots coming from the development side. We are going to be a app chains as a service platform. So you can come to us, get some support, help us launch your subnet or your supernet, and then get that full enterprise grade scalability that we offer on our current setup. So anybody interested in learning more, as you can see, our experts are kind of deep into the weeds in terms of making sure we're up to speed on documentation, learning about these new updates, which seem to be launching every few weeks. And it's nice to see that we have it covered from all angles. So, Usman on the Avalanche and Arbitrum side, Ethan on the Solana, the Harmony, and a few other, I think Gnosis and Fuse. We don't have Alan here today. He's in India, but he's our correspondent for Starknet and some of the other apps. And then we've got Matt, who is with Polygon. So just keep in mind that Chainstack hires and helps, promote development and dev experience advocates in all our different chains. And these folks are the experts, right? They're there to help. You can hit them up on the community, Twitter, Telegram, Discord, you name it. And these are the types of people that are helping us push the industry forward. So thanks again, gentlemen, for your work. It looks like Mario, could we have a few seconds? And then I guess Landslide's back. We'd love to have you back up here and talk about some of the IBC stuff. But let's go with maybe Mario first, if he's a speaker.
Yeah, thank you for having me on board. I just wanted to comment on like Avalanche's warp messaging. Like I'm recently familiar with the fact that Trader Joe is now looking into using their own subnet because with the deployment of their new AMM, when you're doing like liquidity provisioning on the AMM, there's actually like computational limits that are getting hit at the chain level when it comes to supplying LP. Like when you're trying to like supply liquidity across like a certain price range, it starts to become prohibitively expensive. So now, a DEX like Trader Joe is now looking at least, running a part of their DEX on a subnet. And what makes that interesting is that like once you're running your own subnet, right, you can now connect to a Solana VM or Landslide network or and all these other subnets that are popping up. So it's very fascinating, at least at like we have all these C chain dApps that are now exploring using subnets, and with that comes, of course, using warp messaging.
Mario, thank you. And I think you changed your name there, but no, I appreciate it. That's awesome. That's a great take on it. And like I said, we're thrilled to be part of the development. We're learning. We can't claim to be, all knowing at all times, but just amazing to see the pace and how quickly this is developing. So thanks for your take up here. Anything else from your side, Mario?
No, that's all. I'm working with the Landslide team, and what I'm very bullish on what they're building in terms of having an IBC enabled Avalanche subnet. So just want to give it a shout out there. Super bullish.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think we were able to drag Landslide back into this. Did you want to echo some of the points from Mario and kind of give us a bit of an overview, high level of what you're doing?
We could talk IBC if that interests folks. I'm not sure.
Absolutely. Maybe even start with a breakdown of what IBC is. Not everybody's at the same level here, and including myself. I'm always willing to learn and get educated, and it's experts like yourselves that help us get there.
Sure. IBC is like the lower level of all of the Cosmos chains. So IBC stands for like inter blockchain communication. So the way that the Cosmos zones can talk to one another is through IBC relayers. They're basically people who sit on one continent or another, and they relay information, packets of information between like one continent and another. Like not, and when I mean continents, I mean like one zone, one Cosmos zone. And the way they do that is with light clients. So they have if you're trying to get from Osmosis to Kujira, the only way to do that securely is via IBC. So you have on your target chain, if you're going to Kujira, you need to have a relayer that can verify state on both chains. So they have what they call light clients, which are their version of verification on the target and the source chain. That's what IBC is. So the IBC team is Strangelove. They're like the main dev team there. What you'll see is that they're more interested in expanding IBC into other chains. So like Near, anything that's not CosmWasm based. So Cosmos WebAssembly, that stands for.
Yeah, that's very interesting. You mentioned Near, and can you tell me a bit about how Near fits in?
That's it. Well, they're not a traditional. They don't have the same virtual machine. So, what IBC is trying to do is build a Near-like client so that you can communicate with Near wallets and the Near state machine from any other IBC zone.
Got it. And these relayers, are these node runners? What is it? Are they running hardware? What kind of an economy is built around that?
It's similar to validators, except there's no slashing. I can put a link to some of the description. There's a great tutorial on IBC. I'll share that. Yeah, I'll share that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I appreciate that. And like I said, it's something, obviously we support Near and we support a lot of the other ecosystems, and understanding how these platforms are being connected and used behind the scenes is really, I think it is kind of revolutionary in terms of what you guys are doing. And you've also been able to launch your own subnet within Cosmos, right? So I think there's a whole other angle that you guys have actually achieved. You're outside of, I don't know if you're outside of testnet and close to being in production. Can you spend a few seconds on that?
Sure. So the most recent release of the Avalanche software upgrades called BAMF. They've released Avalanche Warp messaging. So that's their version of IBC. So that allows subnets in Avalanche to communicate with one another. That's just in Avalanche continent, right, in their ecosystem. So Avalanche Warp messaging allows now outside users, like or watchers or chains or relayers, to verify state inside of the Avalanche P chain, the platform chain. That's where all the validation happens. So the Warp messaging, we're using it. We're using it to validate state from outside Avalanche as well. So our focus inside of subnets, like why we're doing this, is because we're taking all of the Cosmos stack. Like if Cosmos is a car, we're just taking all of the outside metal parts of the car and the driver's wheel and all the gizmos and gadgets in the car, and we're just dropping out the engine block. And instead of using Tendermint consensus, we're using Avalanche consensus. So we're still using the Cosmos stack and everything that's familiar with people. So we're going to be compatible with stuff like Juno, mainnet, Osmosis. The idea is that those users will be able to route and use IBC relayers to achieve faster finality inside of a Avalanche ecosystem.
Yeah, that's awesome. And can you spend a few seconds? I know you had this, we talked about it, this actual in real world asset ability. You talked about art, I think real estate and automobiles, vehicles, that kind of stuff. Could you spend a few seconds on what's actually going on with your platform?
Sure. We're launching a real world asset platform called Liquid Earth. It's compliant in the US and the EU. There's it essentially allows users in a video game or in an NFT marketplace to bring in real world assets, like verified assets, and use them either in game or use them in an NFT marketplace or use them to take out loans. That's what we're building. We're live on Phantom right now, but it's kind of a private beta. We're still we're about to launch on Avalanche and ETH, and soon our subnet as well.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I mean, we love to hear about how real world assets are going to translate into the blockchain, and this is a great example. I was on your website. You've got some classic cars and stuff. I don't know if those are the specific assets or if they're kind of placeholders, but it's starting to really take shape. That's amazing to see.
Well, someone's going to have to crack that nut, right? Like we can't survive on layer one emissions, right? Like that's just not, that's one fixed income asset in crypto, is layer one emissions. But to our earlier conversation about PFPs and crazy meme stuff, like one of the reasons we're in this winter is because there's no real world yield, right? There's no NFT debt. There's a Block Tower and MakerDAO signed a contract to do some credit lending in the MakerDAO space, but generally speaking, most real world yield is totally outside of DeFi.
Okay, so if I can leave you with one last question, I guess we're in FY23. Obviously, you guys have a lot of great things coming. What is your outlook? And this is a big question everybody asked, right? What do you think is going to happen over the next 6 months and maybe even the next year? So what does it look like at the end of 2024 for you?
DeFi regulation has to come. Like institutions will not be able to access it outside of a custodian. We're going to see massive regulation come down hard in the US and the EU. That's not necessarily a bad thing. We need to have accountability, and our space is clearly unable to regulate itself. So we're gonna have help. I think that once we have that type of environment, I think we'll be able to build things of value. But we just can't. Man does not live on PFPs alone.
No, I hear you. And I mean, I love when you mentioned the custodian side of things. And, I spent a few months at a custodian prior to my time at Chainstack, and it was all about, segregation of duties and insurance and, cold storage. It's a process. It's a slow grind. And I know you and I had a chat about, what we see in the US versus the EU versus some of the other emerging markets. We
Yeah,
talked
I
about.
mean, there's great reason for optimism. Like if you take a look at Ari Paul's most recent Twitter thread, like he goes through it. I mean, but it's basically saying a lot of DeFi and crypto is now blue ocean because all of the people that we thought were incumbents, that we thought were the sober people in the room, turned out to be like DJ crackheads, right? Like a year ago, most people would say you couldn't do X, Y, and Z to compete with Alameda's trading, which is just nonsense. Genesis, the whole Genesis Gemini debacle, like perfect example, right? Like all of the sober veterans have proved out to be like just um, not the A game that we thought they were. So there's a lot of blue ocean in the market.
Yeah, and last question, what's your take? We're looking at, obviously there's a bit of a standstill in the U.S. with the House and the Senate and that kind of stuff. But what do you think is going to happen in the next, let's say, 90 days with regards to, I think, is what stablecoin regulation was one of the first things you think was coming in?
I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, our house is, it's going through an admin coup right now, so it's I have no idea.
Yeah, I guess we'll have a space in a couple of weeks and we'll see if it's shaken out of it. But no, I appreciate it, Lancelot. Thrilled to have you up on here and love, listening to your take on things. That's very optimistic. I agree with the concept of regulation. I know a lot of the kind of libertarians and the crypto natives hate that idea, but I think we've proven, like you're saying, that we can't self-regulate, as sad as that is. And we need some kind of a framework and a guideline. And that's the cool thing is for Chainstack, we're global, so we get to see opportunities worldwide. Some other markets are going to move quicker, some slower. But I think in general, a lot of folks are looking at the U.S. and the EU and seeing how things shake out. So appreciate your take. That's very very interesting. Usman,
Well,
any comments?
it's an honor to
Go ahead.
chat with you guys. I appreciate your time, and everyone's been asking some great questions. So I appreciate everyone's input here.
Yeah, likewise. And for anybody on the spaces, give Landslide and I think it was Comrade Mario a follow. They're doing some great work with Landslide itself, and just thrilled to see them grow into 2023. Usman, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a comment onto the regulation aspect. So I did a space about 2 3 weeks ago with Ron Hammond from the Blockchain Association. The Blockchain Association is just kind of the United States' main blockchain lobbying um, association that's kind of doing a lot of the groundwork on the ground out on Capitol Hill for us and for this industry. And a lot of the things that you said, Landslide, is kind of the same stuff that he's mentioned recently. Is that essentially what he said is if we want our industry to continue in a fashion that, from what we've seen, if we want to see these big Web2 partnerships, if we want to see big banks and real liquidity providers come into this space, and they really have to see regulation and have some sort of backing for them to be able to do so. The stablecoin bill is the first one on the docket, from what I remember him saying. And what with that comes a real use case for the technology that's going to be showcasing the other members on Capitol Hill what this technology can really be used for, because we really haven't gotten that one big use case that we can really sit our hands on and be like, yep, this is the one that we need to set ourselves on in this industry, because there's so many facets to this industry, whether that's, stable coins, DeFi, decentralized social media, NFTs, things of that nature, that we really haven't seen one thing stack out on its own. If stable coins can be that one global financial transaction system that we can start to see really work and, potentially even get a CBDC established, there's a lot of other groundwork that could really start to take place. And I think that it's a really exciting time for us as an industry. We just hope that whatever regulation does come doesn't prevent any innovation from taking place. And I think that's really key.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's always a bit of a balance, and I guess kind of a war game in terms of how much regulation can stifle innovation. But I think there's got to be some hand in hand work that gets done there this year. So look, folks, I mean, I really appreciate the time, the energy here, the focus. Love some of the return attendees, and we'll definitely share some of that love back. Just to close off, any other thoughts or comments within the crowd? We'd love to have you up for a few last minutes.
Very interesting conversations you all have, but thank you for having the space, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. Likewise. And I mean, what we mentioned last week, I think this is number 9 here. Obviously, it's picking up some pace, but we intend on continuing to run these every Friday, 12 noon Eastern. We're also going to open this up to our EMEA community, I think, at some different time zones. So for the folks that are staying up really late to catch us here, EMEA and APAC will have its own spaces community. And again, we appreciate your attendance. Looking forward to catching you all next week and continuing to move forward with our partnerships here in different perspectives. So thank you so much, everybody, and have a great weekend.
We have one more speaker up, Krupali. She just wanted to speak last space as well. So it's up if you want to hop on the panel here real quick.
Yes, hello. I have been joining the spaces for like last 3 times continuously, and I enjoy listening to you all, gaining the knowledge, because I'm still learning about Web3 ecosystem, and these spaces provide a lot of value. They tell me a lot more new stuff that I can research about when I'm not on the space. So it's really fun. I am not someone like who can contribute to the knowledge you guys have, because I personally don't know half of these stuff. But I love listening, and I love the conversation, and whatever I can understand, I'm happy to have like something new each time, that I can understand something more each time. So that's fun. Thank you so much for holding the spaces.
Conversation I had.
Oh, Nick, I think. Yeah, we appreciate it. We're doing these every week. Every week we have a new topic. So this week we'll see the ecosystem. Next week we will be going through another topic. And just stay tuned. Each Friday at the same time we're doing one. And then, like Nick said, we will also be hosting the EMEA space for a slightly different time zone. For those of you who have to stretch your times to make this one, we'll hopefully be moving these community calls to 2 a week instead of just one. But for this one, hosted by usually me, Nick, Uzman, and our other DevRel, Matt, these should be happening every Friday, and you can count on those happening. So keep an eye out for that. And next week, we'll be back with a new topic to discuss with the community about. Thanks for attending, everybody.
Yeah, and I'll close. Thanks, Ethan. I'm back. But Krupali just wanted to say thank you so much for stepping up and coming in. And I guarantee you, give it a few weeks and you'll have some great thoughts and some takes of your own. And, don't be scared. Don't be shy. This is an open space. Nobody's going to, kind of grill you for any bad feedback. We're all learning. So just very happy that you were able to step up today and give us a speak. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate all the good thoughts and being so supportive. I have always found people so supportive in the system, in this ecosystem, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you so much.
I just want to echo what Nick said just now. We're all learning. So Krupali, I think it's so great that you came up here and shared that with them and gave Chainstack that feedback. I've connected with you as well. Everyone on the stage has learned something from somebody else. So I think that what you're doing is the exact right way to start. It's the way that I started, like getting into spaces, listening to people who knew more than I did or had different perspectives than I do, and that really helped me grow like in this space. So it's a very exciting journey. And if you ever want to reach out to anybody, my DMs are open.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Candice runs some amazing spaces. So feel free, as a community member and definitely a lot of knowledge to be shared on that side. Thanks, Candice. And thanks, Krupali. On that note, thank you, everybody. Wish you all a great weekend. Good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are in the world. And looking forward to catching up next week. All the best.